Hello everybody, and on this remarkably beautiful day here in Dublin, I thought I would do a video as a follow-on to the last video I did regarding Irish neutrality. So, in this video I am going to discuss the reasons why the European countries, particularly those involved in NATO, are not getting involved in the Israeli and American attack on Iran. This can be broken down into four key aspects. The first one being militarily, the second one being political, the third one being economic, and then finally the most difficult one to define, the emotional aspect of it. So let's talk about the military aspect first. Europe is made up primarily of democracies. Most all of these democracies in Europe are part of an economic and political alliance known as the European Union, and others, not the same number, but others are involved in the NATO alliance, which is a military defensive organization. Not every EU member is a member of NATO, and not every member of NATO is an EU member. For example, Ireland, we are a member of the EU, but we're not a member of NATO. And Canada is a member of NATO, but not a member of the EU. Okay, now that we've gotten those terminology clear, like most countries in the world, the European states have got only a certain amount that they've set aside for military use in regard to their budgets. Large states such as the UK, France and Germany can set aside a lot more than a smaller state like Ireland can. On top of that, there is the situation that you don't want in a European state to be seeing body bags of your soldiers coming home, and people risking their lives and being killed for reasons that your population can't really understand. This was the primary fault of the Iraq war and Afghanistan to a certain degree, which I'll be discussing a little bit more later. But it is essentially that Europe only has a certain amount of resources in both men and material that it can dedicate to any one thing at any one time. And they're not going to use those resources badly. They're going to be very careful how to use them. At the moment, we have got a raging war going on between Ukraine and Russia, on which Europe has really taken the front with regards to supporting Ukraine. And that's really our focus, trying to help the Ukrainians secure their land and force the Russians back across the border. This war in Iran appears to most European states to be ill-advised, ill-thought out, ill-prepared for, and ill-planned, all of which leave them very cagey with regards to using their military assets in this way. So limited amount of military assets, and not really prepared to use them, just because America got itself into this mess. So that's the first. The second situation, which is the political situation, is that a lot of European states have not really been overly happy with the United States and Trump's regime over the last year and a bit. There's been a lot of situations where diplomatic incidents have taken place. In particular, the United States claiming that they need Greenland, and despite many attempts at diplomacy, still pushing ahead with that until the pressure got too much on Trump and he backed down. Europe still operates on the older diplomatic system, where things are discussed and worked out between the people who we have elected into power and the civil servants and members of the diplomatic corps that are trained for this sort of thing. Even though the United States seems to have abandoned a lot of that, the Europeans still hold that to be very important. And it's because of that Europe is less willing to politically to be involved in this sort of thing. Also, European populations still have the shadow of Iraq and Afghanistan haunting them, and they really would not support the use of their militaries in another war that they didn't really understand. So unless the Americans can come up with clear objectives, I mean very clear objectives, clear goals, clear reasons for going into this war, and a clear plan for achieving it, the Europeans are not going to put themselves into the position of being used as patsies or being used as pawns in this war. It's not to say that they don't celebrate the collapse of the Iranian regime. Of course, nobody really liked the Ayatollah in this part of the world, and his regime was quite brutal. But it, as this stated aim, has not actually come about, and it's just getting more messier and messier, and without any really clear look as to what is happening, and really clear look as to how this can be achieved, the Europeans politically won't be getting involved. So that's number two. The third situation is the economic situation, and this has two aspects to it. The first is the fact that Europe, yes, does rely a lot on Middle Eastern oil, but also on Middle Eastern fertilizer in order to grow plants in some areas of Europe where the soil is not exactly the best for growing. And the Europeans economically have been hit quite heavily with regards to this. Oil prices and petrol prices have already gone up here in Ireland, and we foresee that the food prices and such are going to go up next. Our government's already taken steps to try to avert all of this. The very fact that Europeans weren't consulted to begin with and allowed some time to prepare their economies for this shock also doesn't leave the Europeans in any real notion to get involved in this war. We'll be discussing that a little bit in the next part. But economically, this war is not justifiable, but it probably is the only of the four strands where the Europeans might actually get involved in. France, Germany and the United Kingdom have all agreed to send assets to the Middle East to help stabilise the economic situation, particularly around the Straits of Hormuz, but not to get directly involved in the war itself. So it's only the economic aspects that might prompt the Europeans to give some sort of aid in some way, but not direct aid. Is this a wise move to do? Well, whether it's wise or not, the fact that the Europeans were not really given any cards to play or consulted in any way once this war began means that they are less likely to get involved now. So that is the the economic situation. Now, emotionally, and unfortunately, human emotions do play a large amount into what is going on in the world these days. Europeans are quite cheesed off with regards to the United States and to Trump's regime. They have spent most of last year being insulted, humiliated, degraded. Particularly states such as Denmark, France, Germany, and the United Kingdom, and they have been threatened with regards to invasion of their sovereign territory, in the case of Greenland, and they have been punished with very heavy sanctions from the United States for no other reason than that Trump felt he was being, air quote, taken advantage of, and the US has been taken advantage of by the Europeans. All of this has left a very sour taste in the mouth of most Europeans, and so the important thing here is it's not the leaders that this has left people upset. It is the average people on the street. The average people who see their jobs and livelihoods, the money that's in their bank accounts, being threatened by an American president with delusions of grandeur. European leaders, as I said, in European states are democratic. Whether you like it or not, that's the way they are. And the poll numbers and the opinions of their people are exceptionally important to them. And no matter how much people might hum and haw and roll their eyes at the European political system, this is the way it is. And so if the populations of Europe, the people on the street, are not going to support a military action to support the United States, then it's not going to happen. Emotion does play a huge role in this. As I said, fortunately or unfortunately, that is the case. And insulting your friends and neighbours and then expecting them to rush to your aid when you get into trouble is just basically another version of the boy who cried wolf. And no matter how much the administration in the United States might sulk, and might hum and might haw and might call names and might get upset over it, that is just the way it is. And honestly, it would be the same in reverse. So, militarily, not such a great idea. Politically, can't get support for it. Economically, does have a leg to stand on, but only in a defensive way. And emotionally, hasn't captured the imaginations of the people of Europe, and the arguments haven't swayed them into supporting the United States. So this is kind of like a very generalized view. Of course, there will be people of all stripes who will disagree with these points. But on the whole, this is why Europe is not getting and probably will not get directly involved in the situation in Iran, at least not for the foreseeable future. I do intend to do another video on this, addressing some points that have been made by the Trump administration, some of the arguments they make to suggest that Europe should get involved, but that will have to wait for the next video. Have a nice day.